What's up, everyone? Alex here, and welcome to my little corner of the internet. I am continuing talking about abinarity, and I wanted to revisit outherinity. Outherin is a quality that is not masculine, feminine, neutral, or androgynous. It just refers to anything that does not fall within those four qualities. It's not a necessarily specific quality, like a specific fifth quality on its own. It could describe any number of like fifth, sixth, seventh gender qualities, maybe even beyond that. Besides being outside of masculine, feminine, neutral, and androgynous, outherin is also described as not exactly xenon, so not exactly tied to xenogenders, though outherin genders might fall within that spectrum. Xenogenders are outside of the concept of gender, whereas outherin genders fall within, they're not outside the concept of gender itself. They describe genders that are not abstract, not compared to abstract concepts or things like feelings, emotions, sensory things. It's not that they are conventional, it's that they still fall within the concept of gender. Maverick is a very common outherin gender. It exists outside of masculine, feminine, neutral, null. It does not fall within the binary at all. It does not fall within neutrality at all. But there's other similar genders that fall within the outherin gender spectrum. One of them being iliogender, which is just simply a gender that's not male, female, or neutral, and it's not genderless. It just kind of exists as sort of the non-autonomous version of Maverick. Like, it kind of falls in the same area. Paragender, or just called para, is kind of the same deal, but the definition for para specifically says that it does not include like feelings of apathy about one's gender or the lack of gender. So it's not genderless, and it's not a eugender, meaning it does not involve like apathetic feelings of gender or gender unsuredness. I don't know if that's a word, but yeah, iliogender and para are kind of partners in crime. They're pretty similar to each other. They were coined at different times by different people, so they have very similar definitions, and it really just depends on your preference of label, like which one you use for your particular experience. There's the andergender system of genders. These are genders that are combinations of outherin and another gender quality. Andergender could probably be used as a gender on its own, but it is an umbrella term for a system of genders. A couple of them being anderfaun is both outherin and masculine, whereas anderdo is both feminine and outherin. And there's a number of other combinations of qualities that create new genders under that. So just the combination of outherin and other qualities. There are also outherin androgynies. I say androgynies because there's kind of a spectrum of ways you can experience androgyny, and it doesn't always have to be mid-binary in concept, so you don't always have to compare it to binary genders or binary experiences. You can have an experience that's androgynous and like abinary or outherin, but that's just how a lot of genders work. Like, there's a lot of variety between like how we experience our genders. So while androgynous for someone might literally mean masculine and feminine at the same time, some people might have other qualities that come together to create an androgynous experience. Outherin genders are called oin genders, so OUIN, outherin in nature. Sort of like how neutral genders are called nin genders. NIN is neutral in nature. Anything related to outherinity as a spectrum is called oaspec. And it's kind of like how neospec is the neutral spectrum. Except I want to pronounce I think I want to pronounce oaspec or oeaspec as just weaspec because my brain wants to read it in French. So when I see Owen genders, it makes me want to say ween genders because of the OUIN, and I like my brain wants to pronounce it in French. It's very funny. I also have to give a shout out to the Outherinity on Tumblr because that blog is probably the best source for information on all things Outherin, orientations, genders, qualities, and this person also coined quite a few genders and qualities and other Outherin-related identities. They have a lot of information on kind of gender categories. Like I talk about abinarin, maverin, Outherin, neutral. This person has a lot of information on categories and qualities like that. So I highly suggest checking that blog out if you want to know more about Outherinity and all of the intricacies and complexities that fall under that label, because this person's doing a lot of work and the blog is so informative, and that's like where I get a lot of my information from. If I am looking for all things Outherin, I go to that blog. So definitely check that out. But also I have a section here. I wanted to compare Outherin to other genders. Like, you know, what's the difference between Outherin and this other gender? I have a section here because it's kind of hard to imagine a gender quality that does not fall within convention without explaining it as it's not this but similar to this. I talked about mid-binarity. If you're using mid-binary concepts to explain your gender, you're saying it's like being male, like being female, or it falls within, you know, in between male and female. Like you're making that comparison using the binary as a kind of focal point to explain what your gender is. Sometimes you have to do that with other genders as well. So I listed a poragender. A poragender is a gender that is outside of male and female, but it has a distinct feeling of gender, so it's not genderless. Very similar to Outherin genders that are not male, female, or agender. The difference is that a poragender can include neutrality, whereas Outherin does not. So neutroi would be an apeirin gender, something that a poragenders would include. Abinary, that's a term for genders that are entirely outside of the binary of male and female. Again, that includes neutral genders. So the difference between abinary genders and Outherin genders is that neutrality. So neutroi and epicene and other neutral genders would not be considered Outherin. They would be considered abinary, though. So kind of pulling it back, where you have abinary as the big umbrella term, and then Outherin falls under that. Non-binary, that refers to any genders that are not entirely male or female, so that is any number of things. So it's not just abinary genders that are included. Outherin genders are included, and also terms like demi-boy, demi-girl, and then also genders that don't specify it. It's more, they're more terms that talk about like how your gender moves or behaves. So gender fluid, gender flux would also fall under non-binary. Things like multigender, demigender, pangender, all of that would fall under non-binary. So non-binary is the giant umbrella of things that are not entirely male or female, and then abinary is the more specific, absolutely not male or female, and then Outherin falls under abinary. I talked about comparing Outherin to xenon, which is the quality tied to xenogenders, and xenogenders are genders that fall outside of human categorizations of genders. So it exists outside of the concept of gender itself. Outhering does not. Outhering still falls within the concept of gender. There's not abstractions being used to compare one's gender to. It's not like a non-human gender identity. Outhering is kind of within the anthrogenders, which is anything that's not xenogender. So not outside the concept of gender itself, just outside of pre-existing qualities. Outhering is described as not exactly Zenin, and I never got like a confirmation on what that definition or that part of the definition means. So I don't know why it's not exactly Zenin instead of just not Zenin at all. Like, I don't know why there's wiggle room there. I mean, obviously a lot of xenogenders could be considered Outhering, I think. Like, especially if you get into like xenogenders that overlap with like tangible, non-abstract concepts of gender. I don't know what the opposite of abstract is. Let me look. Is there a word for it? Concrete. Easily understood or tangible. Other antonyms include specific, real, and factual. I don't like those. Yeah, concrete, I guess. Is abstract non-physical? Like, just by definition, and then like tangible or physical or concrete would be the opposite? I don't know. I'm just gonna say not. Like, Outhering is non-abstract. It doesn't use things like sensory feeling or emotion or nature or animals to describe gender. I put agender here as a comparison to Outhering genders. Agender refers to a lack of gender identity. Outhering encompasses allogenders, which are anything that are not agenders. Agenders? That are genders that are not genderless. So agender is not an allogender, but something like a man, woman, neutroi, aporagender, maverick, iliogender. Those are all allogenders. None of them are genderless. Gender void's not an allogender. It falls in the agender spectrum of identities. Some Outhering genders might intersect with feelings of genderlessness, but Outherinity is not genderlessness, just by definition. So there we go. Comparisons. I want to start adding these kind of sections to the YB3 Wiki. I think that would be helpful because I like the idea of, like, I come up with this term and I know a lot of people might ask, well, what's the difference between this and like non-binary or aporagender or xenogender? So I like the idea of giving that option of like being able to see how a new term compares to existing terms. It kind of gives it like almost credibility, where it's like, this is why we're not going to call Outhering abinary. There's a reason why it's specific, and like this is what it encompasses. This is what it encompasses, and that's why we don't make the that's why we're not doing away with this word, because we have another word for it. Like this was coined for a purpose. So I might start adding sections like this where it compares a gender term to other existing gender terms, so that you just know like where it falls, why it was created, and all that. So that's pretty much it. I'm already thinking ahead to Pride Month. I don't know what to do for Pride Month other than maybe like writing prompts on the YB3 blog. But I'm also just kind of inactive over there at the moment, so I could focus on other stuff. So I don't know I don't know what to do with Pride Month, but any and all suggestions would be great. as of recording this, we're in the middle of March, so I still got some time before I have to even like worry about that. But I have one or two things in mind. It's mostly the writing prompts and like posting more to the YB3 blog, probably reblogging resources and other people's experiences with gender in general, probably not just tangentially multigender experiences, but we'll see. Anyway, I am signing off for now. See you later.